Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's workshop. This week's workshop topic is harassment in the workplace. Let's get started with our morning announcements as usual. Again, welcome. It's always great to have you guys here. Just a reminder, the watch party feature has now been removed from Facebook, and the team is looking at changing the format of how we do our workshops to make them all more interactive for you all. Okay? This month is Sexual Violence Awareness Month, and we will be covering topics on different types of relationships and how to stay safe while building relationships, both personally and professionally. Again, I want to thank you all for participating, no matter what time it is. Workshops are happening, just to remind you all, every Tuesday and Thursday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. We also have a YouTube page where we post our videos weekly that any of you may access with a request to do so at any time. Also remember to please like our video after watching it. Thanks, guys. Now, before we get started on this week's workshop, let's review last week's workshop. Last week's workshop topic was types of interpersonal relationships. So my question to you all this morning is, what are some types of interpersonal relationships? You have 2 minutes starting right now. Five, four, three, two, and one. Very good, guys. Good guesses. I'll now review all the types I discussed last week, just for your clarification. There are intimate types of relationships, lovers, significant others, spouses, family relationships, friendships, enemies or frenemies, neighbors, business relationships, partnerships, employer and employee, contractor, customer, contractor, customer, landlord, and tenant. And our last one, official relationships. Now today we are going to be discussing harassment in the workplace. So let's start by answering the question of, what is harassment? Harassment is a form of discrimination. It includes any unwanted physical or verbal behaviors that offends or humiliates you. Generally, harassment is a behavior that persists over time. Serious one-time incidents can also sometimes be considered harassment. Harassment occurs when someone makes unwelcome remarks or jokes about your race, religion, sex, age, disability, or any other of the grounds of discrimination. When someone threatens or intimidates you because of your race, religion, sex, age, disability, or any other of the grounds of discrimination, or makes unwelcome physical contact with you, such as touching, patting, or pinching. There are so many types of workplace harassment and so many interpretations that even the most diligent HR professional can miss the signs. With a more thorough understanding of workplace harassment, you're better equipped to help a victim deal with their experiences, file a harassment complaint, and implement office training. By the end of this guide, we will be able to identify 11 of the most common types of workplace harassment and how they might intersect. Plus, the website will also share 3 expert tips for reducing harassment in the workplace, in the office. These are our 11 types: discriminatory, personal, physical, power, psychological, online, retaliation, sexual, quid pro quo, third party, verbal, and prevention. Now we are going to watch a small clip about what to do when there is harassment in the workplace. All right, everybody. Give me one moment, please. Found a new way of blocking the camera when I have to make a quick change. So that I'm making sure nothing is seen that shouldn't be seen. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me. I need about 20 more seconds. I hope everyone's week has been going good so far. I know we're only on day 2. And the weather's a little sad today on this Tuesday. But at least we're all here together, participating in workshops, enjoying each other's company yet again today. I hope you guys have all taken a look at our Facebook page over the week. If you have, you will notice that we made a posting just last week for a virtual workshop that's upcoming here. So it'd be really cool, guys, if you could try to participate, register, sign up, participate in the virtual online job fair. If anybody needs help registering, please let us, your staff, know so that we can help you with that. Okay? Again, any questions you may have in regards to participating in the job fair, please let me, Jennifer, Sadie know so that we can help you sign up. All right, guys, sorry. Almost got my YouTube link ready. This is being very strange. It's never happened before. Of course, when I need everything to work, that's when everything is difficult, hey? That's okay. I will just pull it up automatically, I guess. That is wild. Sorry again for the extremely long pause, you guys. I apologize. There it is. I don't know why it was doing that, but we should be good to go now. Thank you guys for your patience. Sorry about the long pause. And here is our harassment in the workplace video. This is the first video that we're going to be showing today in regard to our topic.
Workplace harassment can be a violation of the Alberta Human Rights Act. Document incidents, stay calm, and remain professional when you are being harassed. Contact the Human Rights Commission to file a complaint. Physical threats are against the law. Threats should be reported to the police. In Alberta, there are no specific laws that protect employees from general workplace harassment. The employers should have policies in place to deal with harassment.
So very short clip, okay? All right. And I'm going to just pop right back on over to our workshop. So there is our video that we just watched. Now I have a question for you guys. So what should you do when dealing with harassment in the workplace? Okay, give me some ideas. You have 2 minutes starting right now. Ooh, there we go. Uh-oh. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, guys. Good job. Thank you for sharing what you think. Okay. Now I'll go through the suggestions made in the video with you all. Okay? So that's where I'm taking my ideas from. All right, so what are some things that you should do? Document any incidents. Stay calm. Remain professional. Contact the Human Rights Commission to file a complaint. Physical threats are against the law and should be reported to the police. And employers should have policies in place to deal with harassment. Sorry, I skipped forward on that one on you guys. Discriminatory harassment. All unlawful workplace harassment is discriminatory in nature. But unlike verbal or physical harassment, discriminatory harassment is defined by its intentions instead of how it's carried out. In this case, the bully is harassing the victim because, at least in part, they're a member of a protected class. The more common and recognizable forms of discriminatory harassment are described in more detail. So, we're moving on to the different types, to the more common and recognizable forms of discriminatory harassment, okay? Racial harassment. A victim may experience racial harassment because of their race, skin color, ancestry, origin country, or citizenship. Even perceived attributes of a certain ethnicity, curly hair, accents, customs, beliefs, or clothing may be the cause. Racial harassment often looks like racial slurs, racial insults, racial jokes, degrading comments, disgust, intolerance of differences. Gender harassment. Gender harassment is discriminatory behavior towards a person based on their gender. Negative gender stereotypes about how men and women should or do act are often the center of the harassment. Some examples are: a male nurse faces harassment for having what is perceived as a woman's job. A female banker hits the glass ceiling and is taunted for not being leader material. A male colleague displays material, comics, posters that's degrading to women. Now, we will watch another clip on gender discrimination in the workplace. Please watch and listen very carefully. Again, just have to switch out my computer usage areas. So you guys just give me a second now that I'm on a roll. And we should be up and going momentarily. For all those who are wanting to look into job searching and where to job search, there's a lot of options out there. You can use Indeed, ZipRecruiter, what are some other ones? Canadian Job Bank, Job Rapido. Google search is something I've also been using with a lot of you guys as of lately. Google search is awesome. You can just put in part-time housekeeping, for instance, part-time housekeeping jobs in Red Deer. And from there, sorry guys, one second. Just pulling up. There's my links. Okay. And gender discrimination at workplace. limit an individual talent pool. My opinions are never heard, is what she said. There we go. Awesome. Ooh. Cancel. And bouncing back over to our PowerPoint. Thank you, guys. Sorry, everybody. It seems to be like one of those days today. Now, guys, it's that time again. I have another question for you all. So, from the video we just watched, question to you guys, what is gender discrimination? You have 2 minutes starting now. Okay, thank you guys. Excellent guesses, everybody. So just a quick reminder, Gender discrimination is a situation in which someone is treated less according to their sex. We're learning a lot today about different types of harassment. Hey? All right, let me pull this a little smidge forward. Perfect. Okay. We're rolling, guys. We're rolling. Religious harassment. Religious harassment is often interconnected with racial harassment, but narrows in specifically on the victim's religious beliefs. An individual with a religion that differs from the norm of the company may face workplace harassment or intolerance in a variety of ways. Intolerance toward religious holidays, intolerance toward religious traditions, intolerance toward religious customs, cruel religious jokes, degrading stereotypical comments, pressures to convert religions. I couldn't imagine. I have never experienced religious harassment personally myself, but I could only imagine not being able to believe what I want to believe comfortably because it makes somebody else uncomfortable. That's for everybody, or quite a few people who are Islam or who believe in Allah as a religion. From what I have heard and from the few things I have seen, but that is just my opinion, not fact. Always look up your information if you want to know more about different things, different situations, different people, different groups, different backgrounds. Okay, disability-based harassment. Quite a few of you guys should know what this one is, right? Disability-based harassment is a type of workplace harassment directed towards individuals who either suffer from a disability themselves, are acquainted with a disabled person or people, use disability services, sick leave, or workers' comp. A person with a disability may experience harassment in the forms of harmful teasing, patronizing comments, refusals to reasonably accommodate, or isolation. Okay. Sexual orientation-based harassment. Sexual orientation-based harassment is starting to gain traction and recognition as a legitimate type of workplace harassment. Victims face harassment because their sexual orientation is different from those around them. People of any sexual orientation, heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, asexual, etc., may experience this form of harassment depending on their line of work. For example, a homosexual man may face harassment on a construction site, whereas a heterosexual man may be teased for working in a salon. Our world is wild, hey? With that said, that brings me to our third video for today. Love this sticky tape. My little post-it note. And I don't have to move anything, and I can just get everything up, running, going, and then we're good to go. So, video number 3.
The law defines sexual harassment as unwelcome verbal, visual, or physical conduct of a sexual nature that is severe or pervasive and affects working conditions or creates a hostile work environment. Conduct of a sexual nature is broken into 3 parts: verbal, visual, and physical. Verbal includes comments about clothing, a person's body, sexual or gender-based jokes or remarks, requesting sexual favors or repeatedly asking a person out, sexual innuendos, threats, spreading rumors about a person's personal or sexual life, or foul and obscene language. Visual includes posters, drawings, pictures, screensavers, cartoons, emails, or text of a sexual nature. Physical includes assault, impeding or blocking movement, inappropriate touching such as kissing, hugging, patting, stroking, or rubbing, sexual gesturing, or even leering or staring. There are 2 categories of sexual harassment. The first is quid pro quo, which literally means this for that.
It occurs when a boss uses job rewards such as raises or promotions or punishment such as demotions or firing to force employees into a sexual relationship or sexual act. The second is hostile environment, which is defined as conduct that unreasonably interferes with work performance or creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work environment. For example, it may be sexual harassment if repeated sexual comments make someone so uncomfortable that their work performance suffers, or they decline professional opportunities because it will put them in contact with the harasser. In both types of harassment, employees must prove that the conduct was offensive to someone, not necessarily the intended victim of the harassment. Here's an example. Say a male employee tells a dirty joke to a female coworker. She thinks it's funny, but a second woman passing by finds it offensive. That joke could contribute to a hostile environment claim simply because someone finds it offensive. There are two conditions that determine liability for employers in cases of hostile environment sexual harassment. The employer knew or should have known about the harassment, and the employer failed to take appropriate corrective action. Having a training program as well as a clear procedure for reporting harassment claims can shield employers from expensive lawsuits. Visit us at turnkeydoc.com for more tips on how to prevent sexual harassment, training materials, as well as a complete library of company policy and procedures. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for free video tips every month.
Awesome. And back to our PowerPoint, everybody. All right, guys, it's question time yet again. Oh, yes, we are getting fully into our interactive type of workshops, getting you guys practiced and ready to go for when we are all using Microsoft Teams or Zoom's meetings for our workshops. So, question for you guys, okay? What are the 3 types of sexual harassment that were mentioned in that video? You have 2 minutes starting right now. Okay, everybody. Thank you for sharing. So let me just get my clarification on. The 3 types that were mentioned in the video were verbal, visual, and physical types, okay? Those are the 3 types of sexual harassment. Age-based harassment. Workers 40 years and older are specifically protected by the Civil Rights Act of 1964 in an attempt to promote employment of older people and reduce age-based harassment. A person facing age-based harassment might be teased and insulted, left out of activities or meetings, or unfairly criticized simply because of their age and the stereotypes that come with it. Unfortunately, this harassment is sometimes an attempt to wrongfully push the individual into early retirement. Personal harassment. Personal harassment is a form of workplace harassment that's not based on one of the protected classes, such as race, gender, or religion. Simply, it's bullying in its most basic form, and it's not illegal, but can be damaging nevertheless. Examples of personal harassment. Personal harassment includes inappropriate comments, offensive jokes, personal humiliation, critical remarks, ostracizing behaviors, intimidation tactics, or any other behavior that creates an intimidating and offensive work environment for the victim. Physical harassment. Physical harassment, also often called workplace violence, refers to a type of workplace harassment that involves physical attacks or threats. In extreme cases, physical harassment may be classified as assault. Physical gestures such as playful shoving can blur the line between appropriate or not, since it's the person on the receiving end who decides whether the behavior makes them uncomfortable. In order to more clearly define that line, physical harassment should be taken very seriously in the workplace and explained thoroughly in codes of conduct and policies. Examples of physical harassment. Common behaviors include direct threats of intent to inflict harm, physical attacks, hitting, shoving, kicking, threatening behavior, shaking fist angrily, destroying property to intimidate. Industries at risk. Employees in some industries are more at higher risk of workplace violence. These include healthcare workers, peace officers, social services employees, teachers and educators, retail staff, and public transit drivers. For our fourth video, we will be watching a video on bullying in the workplace. Okay? So please listen in, you guys. Give me 2 seconds.
It seems like everyone is talking about bullying and harassment. But what does it mean for you and your workplace? This video explains what workplace bullying and harassment is and what it's not. Legal obligations for employers, supervisors, and workers. And where to get the information you need. So first off, what is workplace bullying and harassment? It includes any inappropriate conduct or comment by a person towards a worker that the person knew or reasonably ought to have known would cause that worker to be humiliated or intimidated. Examples could be yelling or name-calling, vandalizing personal belongings, harmful hazing or initiation practices. There might be a single perpetrator or a group. There may be just one target or many. Bullying and harassment can occur between co-workers or between the employer and a worker. Or it can come from external sources, such as members of the public, clients and customers, or workers from other organizations. Bullying and harassment also extends to online activities. Cyberbullying can occur through email, text messages, social networks, and other websites. What is not considered workplace bullying and harassment? Managers and supervisors have many responsibilities. Decisions relating to job duties, workloads, deadlines, and performance management, or the direction of workers and the workplace are not bullying and harassment. So what are your legal duties? Employers have an obligation to take reasonable steps to prevent bullying and harassment, or minimize it where possible. Employers must also develop a policy statement that addresses bullying and harassment in the workplace. Develop and implement procedures for reporting incidents or complaints, and for how they will be dealt with. They also have to train supervisors and workers. Supervisors and workers are required to comply with the employer's policies and procedures and not engage in workplace bullying and harassment. Workers must report it when they see it or experience it. The bottom line is, bullying and harassment is a workplace hazard that poses a risk to the health and safety of workers. As part of their responsibility to protect workers' safety, WorkSafe BC prevention officers will inspect workplaces to determine if employers have taken reasonable steps to prevent and address bullying and harassment. The occupational health and safety policies explain what WorkSafe BC considers to be reasonable steps for employers to take. When bullying is reported, it gives employers an opportunity to take positive action. Put an end to workplace bullying and harassment. An online toolkit is available that includes helpful information and advice. For the resources you need, visit worksafebc.com/bullying.
Awesome! Awesome!
A lot of people.
So sorry. Okay, and jumping back to our PowerPoint, everybody. This one. Question time for you guys. So, for my final question to you all, I want to know, what are some examples of bullying in the workplace, as I have posted here? You have 2 minutes starting right now. Five, four, three, 2, and 1. Awesome, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, some forms of bullying involve inappropriate conduct or comment by an employer or employee. Some forms of bullying involve inappropriate conduct or comment by an employer or employee. Under this, some of the examples are yelling or name calling, vandalizing personal belongings, harmful hazing or initiation practices as well. There can also be one bully or a group of bullies. Let me just jump back. There can be one victim or many victims, and it can be from someone from another company doing the bullying or receiving it. All right. Power harassment. Power harassment is a common form of workplace harassment that's characterized by a power disparity between the harasser and the harassed. The harasser exercises their power by bullying a victim who is lower on the office hierarchy. In many cases, the harasser is a supervisor or manager who victimizes their subordinates. Examples of power harassment. Power harassment isn't limited to a certain type of behavior. It can be verbal in the form of intimidation, or it can be physical in the form of acts of violence. More often than not, it's psychological. The harasser subjects the victim to excessive demands that are impossible to meet, demeaning demands far below the employee's capability, or intrusion into the employee's personal life. Oh, very uncomfortable. Psychological harassment. Psychological harassment has a negative impact on a person's psychological well-being. Victims of psychological harassment often feel put down and belittled on a personal level, a professional level, or both. The damage to a victim's psychological well-being often creates a domino effect impacting their physical health, social life, and work life. Examples of psychological harassment. Psychological harassment in the workplace might look like isolating or denying the victim's presence, belittling or trivializing the victim's thoughts, discrediting or spreading rumors about the victim, opposing or challenging everything the victim says. Cyberbullying. Employers are embracing new technology in order to appeal to younger employees and reap the benefits of the dignity of a digitally connected world. For example, instant messaging applications such as Slack and Workplace by Facebook offer convenience, speed, and user-friendly interface. However, there can be a downside to this digital world. Examples of online harassment. Cyberbullying and online harassment are a serious concern for employers. Among many, many other things, online bullies may share humiliating things about the victim by mass email or mass chat, spread lies or gossip about the victim on social media, send harassing instant messages or text messages directly to the victim. Cyberbullying laws. Federal law doesn't explicitly cover cyberbullying yet, particularly for adults. However, the Department of Justice has noted that legal action is possible by prosecuting the online misbehavior under another law. Retaliation. Retaliation harassment is a subtle form of retaliation and an often overlooked type of workplace harassment. Retaliation harassment occurs when a person harasses someone else to get revenge and to prevent the victim from behaving in such a way again. What does retaliation harassment look like? This type of harassment typically has 3 parts. Employee A files a complaint about employee B. Employee B finds out about the complaint and who made it. Employee B harasses employee A to get revenge and deter them from filing further complaints. Employee B in this case would be harassing employee A as retaliation. Sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is simply harassment that is sexual in nature and generally includes unwanted sexual advances, conduct, or behavior. Sexual harassment in the workplace is a form of unlawful discrimination and is taken seriously by the courts. Other types of harassment might take some time of increasing severity to create a hostile work environment for the victim, whereas sexual harassment typically brings about discomfort and negatively impacts the victim's life immediately. Examples of sexual harassment: sharing sexual photos, pornography, posting sexual posters, sexual comments, jokes, questions, inappropriate sexual touching, inappropriate sexual gestures, invading personal space in a sexual way. How big is the sexual harassment problem? For many years, there have been whispers that sexual harassment runs rampant in the restaurant industry. More recently, there's been a steady flow of sexual harassment stories coming from Hollywood, spawning a #MeToo campaign that highlights the prevalence of this behavior. In a video below, we listen as Virginia McSubin in a video that was posted on the website. We listen as Virginia McSubin explains how recent stories of sexual harassment actually aren't about sex at all, but about power. McSubin also outlines common responses from men to the #MeToo and #TimesUp movement, drawing attention to the amount of misinformation regarding workplace sexual harassment. This lack of education is unacceptable, especially considering how prevalent these incidents are. A recent EEOC study concluded that anywhere between 25 and 85% of women have been the victim of sexual harassment at work. Even at the lower number, 25%, this equates to 1 in 4 women experiencing workplace sexual harassment, which is ridiculous. Quid pro quo sexual harassment. Quid pro quo, translated to this for that, is a type of exchange-based sexual harassment. If job benefits are offered to an employee on the condition that they partake in some form of sexual conduct, it's typically referred to as quid pro quo sexual harassment. Sexual harassment of any form requires a unique, more detailed complaint form. In this situation, the harasser, who is often a manager or senior level employee, may offer something of value for a sexual favor. It can also be a form of blackmail. Examples of quid pro quo sexual harassment: in exchange for romantic or sexual services, the victim may receive a job offer, receive a promotion, receive a raise, receive opportunities, avoid a demotion, avoid termination. Quid pro quo sexual harassment can be either explicit or implicit. The harasser may outright ask for the exchange or may hint at it. Don't you want this job? Third-party harassment is a type of workplace harassment that's perpetrated by a third party, someone from outside of the organization. Instead of the perpetrator being a boss, supervisor, or colleague, he or she is a vendor, supplier, customer, or client of the company. Who is the victim of third-party harassment? Victims are often young adults in low status or low power jobs. Think cashier or sales associate. Their position in the company, their lack of experience, and their reluctance to cause a scene make them ideal victims. Employer liability for third-party harassers. Because third-party harassment doesn't fit the typical narrative, it remains under-recognized and is often swept under the rug. Regardless of who the harasser is, an employer's responsibility to take steps to stop the behavior is the same. Verbal harassment. Verbal harassment can be the result of personality conflicts in the workplace that have escalated beyond the casual eye-rolling or something more serious. Unlike discriminatory types of harassment, such as sexual, verbal abuse is often not illegal. Instead, verbal harassment can be someone who's constantly mean or unpleasant. For this reason, a lot of verbal harassment can be particularly damaging since it goes unnoticed and unresolved. Examples of verbal harassment. Obvious verbal harassment behaviors include things like threatening, yelling, insulting, or cursing at a victim in public or in private. If this is aimed at someone in a protected class, it is unlawful. Negative effects of verbal abuse. Dr. Gary Nami, a workplace bullying expert, found trends in the negative effects of verbal abuse at work. It's common, he says, to have feelings of shame and guilt, loss of passions, and even increased blood pressure. Expert tips to stop harassment. So now we know what types of harassment plague the office. The next step is to stop it. Here are 3 ways. Implement, update, revive your policy. Whatever verb is applicable to your policy situation, do it. If you don't have a policy yet, create one. And they have one on the website. If you do, but it's out of date and hasn't been updated since the last century, update it. If you do, but no one cares or knows it exists, dust it off and enforce it. If there's a policy and it's accurate and enforced, staff will have no reason not to abide by it. But as long as there's no guiding light for conduct and misconduct, you're asking for chaos. Train your staff. Train your employees on what harassment is, how to recognize it, and how to report it. Implement, update, revive your internal complaint system. Policy and training can only do so much. To supplement policy and to step in when it's not enough, an internal complaint system like iCite's ethics hotline can make employees feel safe and supported. Unless you have a formal complaint system that acknowledges the victim's rights to anonymity and security from retaliation, they probably won't come forward. Victims will fear the potential backlash, and the lack of support might be worse than the harassment they already face. Thank you for joining us for today's workshop, everybody. We are always happy to have you all participating with us every week. Please join us for our workshop discussion on Thursday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. We also want you all to check our page, as we tend to have postings on positions that are available, employment events, upcoming job affairs, etc. And if you need access to our YouTube page, please just ask so we can give you direct access, okay? I also want to remind you all to like our videos after you've watched them. This is the best proof we have of you all having watched the videos we post if you aren't joining us during the workshop. Sorry. Thanks everybody for joining me today, and I hope you have a fantastic day.